Right, spring is around the corner, which means planting season is right around the corner. And I gotta say, there's a couple things we need to remember, so I want to help everybody out and just kind of push us in the right direction, and some things to look out for too. This is just kind of encompassing all of spring planting. But before we do, I want to do an exercise real quick. I want you to comment. You can make any comment you want on here, but this comment needs to be separate. It just puts your state and your last frost date in it, in the comment. And then after that, you can comment whatever you want, but please make them separate comments so people can see them. To give you a little update of what's going on here, our carrots have germinated very well, so everything's going in the very good direction. Very happy about that, even though something did dig right there, but whatever. We are going through our Brussels sprouts, finishing that up. Our rutabagas are growing nicely. Our cabbages are done here, so we're going to get this bed ready for spring. This one's doing very well. We're having very weird weather, which we'll get into in a minute, but everything is growing and coming back to life and really pushing. Our lettuce has not bolted yet, which is very good. This is a thing of seeds that's out in the open. Our cabbages are coming back from the urea gate. Our broccoli is doing very well from the urea gate. We may have 2 skips, we may not. We're just going to let it play out. And then this bed's doing very well as well. This is the Napa cabbage, and I ended up throwing some cabbages in there too, just to kind of fill the space. Whew, that was a lot. And as far as the weather goes, I'm in coastal North Carolina right now. Sorry if I just hit the mic on you. Right now, the temperature is 75 degrees. It's very nice. And it's going to be this way for the next week. And it's going to be in the 40s to 50s at night, which is where this conversation is going to be centered right here at this moment, because I am in coastal North Carolina, and my last frost date, that bee has just about stung me, is April 15th. So as you can tell, we're a month away from that. So what does that mean? We're going to get another frost, almost guaranteed. But what's going to happen is we're going to have a lot of nice, beautiful weather in between, and I don't want to get the okie doke by the weatherman. Last video, we were I was showing my seed starting shelf, and I said my tomatoes took a little bit of a hit because I had to go out of town and they dried up. So they actually are kind of struggling, which is the first time in a while. But because of this nice weather, I'm taking advantage of it, and I'm going to go ahead and harden them off. We're going to call this hospice at this point. So they're going in the greenhouse at night. They're coming out here in the day, and they're in the shade right now so they can get used to it. But I know that the sunlight is going to help them more than anything. So we're going to get that going. They're fully watered, and I fed them, so that's going to help as well. We were seeing some nutrient deficiency issues, so that's not an issue. But the question is like, we're hardening them off a month early. What does that mean? Actually, it's pretty simple. It means we're going to take advantage of this. Now, we are using our greenhouse to offset the temperatures at night. It's typically about 3 to 5 degrees warmer in there than it is outside at night. So if we do that, then we know that we can keep them above their low temperature. So as long as it's, you know, about 42 to 45 degrees at night, we'll leave them out there. But I'm prepared, and I will guarantee you that I'm going to move them back inside. So just because they're hardened off, I'm going to let them enjoy the sunlight. Well, they're not hardened off, but they're in the process of it. I'm going to let them enjoy the sunlight. But also, when I move them inside, I'll put them back under the lights, because they may have to go back in for 2, 3, 4, 5 days at a time. But I want you to remember this. This is really, really important. Plant will not die if it sits in total darkness for a day or 2. Plant will die if you take it from your grow lights and throw it out in full sun immediately. Just remember that. So if we come into the greenhouse here, we've been putting our tomatoes here because we've got all of our flowers everywhere else and everything's full. So everything that we start by seed, if we put it outside, it will probably end up being in the greenhouse at night. So this thing, you won't even be able to walk in it in the mornings. And once those tomatoes get hardened off, they'll probably just stay in the greenhouse permanently, or unless it gets too cold and have to go back in. I'll probably just leave them in there for extra protection, because you know your boys are going to forget and leave them out there, and they're going to get toasted. So, or frozen is more like it. But as we start more seeds, same thing. You know, right now, this week in particular is a perfect week to start some seeds and start them outside in trays and let them just grow naturally outside and enjoy the sunlight, but be prepared to go in and out. Now, I know my weather, and I am for sure going to get another frost, like I've said, and I'm going to keep saying that throughout this video because I want it to be very clear. But what I know is as we get to our last frost date, these days like this 70 and 50, that's what our last frost date looks like. You know, when I lived in New England, our last frost date did not look like that. Our last frost date looked like 50 and 33, right? But we don't have that issue here. So, and with the greenhouse, we get another extra boost. So we can put warm season crops in there and they will really enjoy that heat. So we plan to fully take advantage of it, but we just know that changes are gonna happen and we need to follow in order with that. And it's really important. So it's important not to get overly excited. Look, this bed I could plant right now. If I just went by the weather, I could plant this bed fully right now. And I would think for maybe 2 to 3 weeks, it's gonna be great. But then guess what? Then we get a cold and that bed's going to be emptied again. So it's just one of those things that we really need to be prepared about, and we need to be very careful about what we're doing in our gardens. And the reason why I'm focusing, whoa, that sounded weird, focusing so heavily on this is because I know how every gardener thinks. They get super excited on the first day where, you know, you go outside and you can like, is that sweat? Like just the first time, we're like, yes, it's time, but it's not time yet. It's really important. So, you know, we're still moving in the same direction. We're going in the same, we're moving forward and we're taking advantage. Like my grandma always wrote to me, ta, take advantage. But at the same time, as a former Boy Scout, you're always prepared. Be prepared. And we're prepared to make changes as necessary and be very flexible. So it's typically, the issue is not with me, like in our house, it's my wife. She's like, why are all these plants by the back door? And it's like, well, they're gonna go back out in the morning, you know? So we bring them in at night, we move them back out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And it can really be a headache. So I wanna take advantage of that and I wanna keep moving forward, but I just need to protect it. And some of these crops, like a low tunnel, just won't do enough for them. You know, a low tunnel, typically without any alterations, just plastic over a bed, will typically keep it. What it does really is it focuses on keeping the frost off the plant, but the temperature can be the same or like a degree warmer. So it doesn't really help some of these warm season crops. For a side note, we're going to be putting out these hives very soon. This is for our Christmas reserve honey. So every bit of honey that comes out of here will be for Christmas. And I know I said I was going to do bee videos and I haven't been doing them, but because I really wanted to focus on like beginner beekeepers, you know, I wanted to focus on my audience that would be interested in getting bees, then I'm going to do it, but I wanted to do like when it was time, and it's time. So we're going to start that, and the first video that's going to come back out is going to be about hive placement. So just keep your eyes open for that. Just to go on about the weather and my feelings about it, you can see we have removed all of our covers and they're in storage now. So we don't expect to use any more row coverings here. I have left the hoops up for now for 2 reasons. One, I want them to shape in the sun and the heat so they hold their shape better, because I've had a couple of them pop up and hit me in the face, which actually hurts pretty bad. I also may utilize them for some shade protection. So I'm just leaving my options open, and I do need to do some trimmings and make things better. Like these 2 right here, see how tall they are? There's no need for them to be that tall, so I need to trim them down so they come like this. So I probably need to take about 6 inches off of one side of them. Where does that leave us right now? We are planting, we're getting excited, but it's still too cold and we have that urge to do it. Start more seeds. Start more seeds. Start your last batch of seeds. If you're like me and you're getting closer, my last batch of seeds to get started are my melons, my cucumbers, my okras, what else? I may be forgetting something. If you go back to the March seed planting video, you'll hear it. But all of those are going to be started very, very soon. And they're not necessarily going to be planted out at the last frost date. It may be a week or 2, 3 later. But what I'll do is I'll put them in the greenhouse and kind of lift that up. Now, on this channel, we don't do zones unless it's important, right? I never mention my zone, and I never tell you in the comments unless it pertains to what we're talking about. And for vegetables, it doesn't. But to put it simply, because a lot of people think in zones, that greenhouse technically raises up by 1 zone. And I think it's like a zone and a half with the modifications I've done to it. So we use that to our advantage. What else can you do? So right now we are actively cleaning up the garden. You know, we started removing things. We can get beds prepared. I need to rebuild this trellis that collapsed in a storm. So I'm gonna be doing that shortly. Weeding beds, getting them prepared. So ideally what you want is your first planting date of your summer vegetables for the bed not to look like this, but to look like that empty one I keep showing you over there, or maybe like this where, you know, it was just nice and clean and bare. Start getting your materials ready. Don't get caught with your pants down and saying, oh, I need fertilizer, and not have it. Go ahead and get it. Don't say, oh, I need mulch. Go get your mulch now. Go get a bale of straw. Find a place that has straw and keep it on hand. I've got 4 bales ready to use at any time. And on that note, this is a perfect time to start adding it to these beds. Like this bed right here will absolutely get mulch on the entire thing, because the bolting of these plants will not occur because the leaves get hot. It occurs because the roots get hot. So we're going to need to cool those plants down and those roots, and this is how we do it, and it retains moisture. So we'll be doing that across all of these beds here, these 3 beds, and then probably over in the back we'll do it for the rutabagas. I don't think I'm going to do it for the carrots. I don't think they need it. And then you can see like this bed needs to be harvested and turned, so we're going to do that. We've got just about another week or 2 worth of food out of here, and then we'll be done. So you can see spring is on the way. It's really important. It's a big time of year. It's something we've dreamed about all winter, but don't set yourself up for failure. Be prepared and be ready to adjust your plan as needed. And now's the time to start practicing and learning and doing. And don't forget, if you're planted already, you need to be doing pest protection and stay on top of that. So be vigilant, look for pests, figure out a treatment plan. I've got videos on here about it. You can look for them. You can find them anywhere. It doesn't matter to me where you watch it. All I care about is the fact that you grow food and you grow it successfully.